Meet Cary, a man with a passion for roasting coffee. So much so, he started his own company, Sanders Bros Coffee. Interestingly, the name came from his great-grandfather and uncle's horse livery and stable. In this episode, we talk all about how to start roasting coffee, the lessons of growing your own business, and the reason behind Cary's passion. He recently has taken up roasting full-time, so you can find and order Sanders Bros Coffee down below. Without further ado, welcome to Convos with Aaron.
Well, now let me ask you a few questions.
Okay.
No, I'm
okay.
just
Okay. Well, Cary, thank you for being on. I appreciate it. You are a master craftsman at what you do. And even though I don't necessarily love the taste of coffee, I have tried some of your coffee, and it tastes good. It tastes good.
Good.
I will say, even though I'm not a coffee man,
yeah.
I do appreciate the craft of it. And it smells good. Mm-hmm. I remember I brought a pack in my car, and the whole car smelled like coffee. And I really do love the smell of coffee.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's usually the case. You know, even if somebody doesn't drink coffee, they still love the smell of it, you know, and there's something about that. And I hate to say it, but I almost like the smell better than I do the actual drink itself, like the flavor, taste. Yeah, there's something about it. Like I think I'd like to take a sachet or a little sachet of ground coffee and hang it from the rear view, you know. Yep. It wouldn't last very long. And I think coffee, what they use it to pull in odors and stuff, like it's a filter, a natural filter. So who knows how that would work, but anyway, always thinking.
Yeah, walking into a coffee shop, I mean, that's part of the atmosphere of it is the smell.
Certainly, yeah.
And so talking about the smell, what got you even into coffee? Was it like the culture of it? Was it the sort of curiosity of how does this get made?
I mean, I think it was a natural progression from, I did not drink in college. I didn't drink coffee in college. Let me rephrase that. And so after college, when I got my first real job, you know, waking up early and stuff, I thought, oh, I'll try it. And so, you know, off the shelf, kind of just prepackaged ground coffee I was drinking, and then I bought a French press, and then I got still off the grocery shelf, a bag of whole bean. I can't remember what it was, but it was an some Italian cup, maybe Lavazza. I don't recall, but got a little grinder, French press, and I started doing that way, and I was like, all right, this is really good. It's different than the other stuff. So what makes that special? Well, it's whole bean. So I was fully down the whole bean route. Like, that's the key. And drank it like that for a long time, and then just realized at some point, heard about that you could roast green coffee. Yep. And I'm like, what? That's a thing? So I ordered some green coffee, and I found the little popcorn popper. You know, started doing it in the garage and fell in love with it. Absolutely fell in love with it. Like, just the whole process and knowing what each phase of the roast is, and it's like a rabbit hole, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely. So be careful if you get into coffee, like roasting and the different sides of coffee, it's easy to go down that hole. So.
And going from your full-time job to this was a little bumpy, but I'd say more importantly, and we talked about this before, you're so much more rejuvenated that you can do this full-time now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How is that feeling, knowing that you can do your craft full-time?
Oh, there's a lightness to it for sure. Because, you know, to do a side business and to have a 40-hour-a-week plus job, you know, it's devoted. You have to go during the day, business hours, and then to do something on the side, a business, you have to do it in the evening, and then especially with children, you know, that are growing and getting more involved in activities and stuff, that's really difficult, really difficult. And so just being able to, in my mind, remember, oh yeah, I have full days that I can fill with doing what I need to do, you know, to make this work and to get better and to improve my skills, and I just love it. I look forward to waking up each day, you know, and being, okay, what do I have to do today? Whereas with the 9 to 5 working for a company, it was just kind of like, ugh, okay, let's make sure we clock in on time and then get our hours in, you know, and if you miss time, have to make it up. Oh, well, there's more time to make up for a job that I'm not passionate about.
Yeah. You trade stresses too, I can imagine.
For sure.
You trade that stress for a more open, I got to get things done or else I won't have profit, or I won't have a product amount that I need in order to sell.
Or my wife's going to get on me if I don't do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can imagine. It's something where it puts fire behind you, I can imagine, though, more so than a job would, because you have to think about, all right, this is my business now.
Yeah.
And I have to build this.
Right.
It's all on me oftentimes, although, you know, you have people that partner with you through it. But
for sure.
How does that feel like now, building a business?
I'm not a businessman per se, you know, so learning the kind of the QuickBooks side of it all, and of course I've kind of done the taxes, or not, I don't do the taxes, but you have to prepare the taxes for a tax, a CPA, let's say. So kind of learning the ins and outs of taxes with businesses, I've done that, kind of self-taught, struggled along the way. But just the whole profit and loss and everything involved in the business side has definitely been a learning curve. I'm more the hands-on craft guy.
Yeah.
And so thankfully I have somebody working alongside with me, kind of teaching me the ropes on that and helping with it. So
that's always helpful too, because I'm not that at all either. Like,
yeah.
And as I go and plan on building whatever God has me to build, I don't know what that looks like, but that's something that I struggle with too.
Yeah.
And as I can imagine, there's a lot of creatives and people who are more so the craftsman side of their business. They fear that. And I know I've feared that for the longest time. And so having somebody, would you say that's been your biggest help in struggling through that process and ultimately learning through it?
Yeah, well, yes, it certainly gives some relief to that, knowing that you know, the manual input spreadsheet thing that I was doing, while it was working okay, just to have better processes lined up, you know, automation, that sort of thing, but having someone that knows how to do that and can help along the way is definitely a relief. Yeah,
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
So let's go back to roasting, because I know this is the reason why I'm here. Is because I want to talk about your roasting.
Sure.
So where do you get your beans from?
Ashley Williams out of Cerro Bueno, La Paz, Honduras, is he's been my number one contact and direct trade provider. He's the farmer, and he's American, so he's a gringo, but he spends a lot of time on the farm and employs a lot of people there, like from that area. A lot of it is seasonal. They come from all around and work his farm, but he definitely has neighbors to the farm, around the farm, and that help him, and he blesses them, you know, with things that they need to really get their own farms. I mean, very small farm holders, you know, and he's made incredible friendships with those people. On the farm, they have the processing facilities, that he's built. But they also built a brand new building that has a church auditorium that they use for community events and church services. There's a couple classrooms for the kids. There's actually a library that they built, and all this is from donation, like Spanish-speaking kids' Bibles, or Spanish language Bibles, all kinds of just regular storybooks and everything. It's all from donations. He bought dental equipment, and he'll have a dentist come in like once every couple months, and locals, the people, line up to have dental work done because it's severe poverty. Like they don't have dentists, or they can't afford to see a dentist in town. And so it's all by note. So going back to your question about the beans, he's his farm is who I try to support most of all because of the work they're doing there, and the coffee itself is fantastic.
Yeah. So it's a double.
It's great.
It's a double profit, or not profit, but a double positive for you.
Yep. And honestly, he's been transparent and said, look, between paying the people that work on my farm and providing plants and equipment and stuff for the neighbors there, selling the green coffee, he doesn't make anything.
Well, it just goes all back into his mission.
It goes all back into that mission. And because he loves the people there, like him and his family. He met his wife there, American wife. They were on 2 separate mission trips to the same area.
Oh, interesting. That's
met.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he splits time between there, and the family will be in Kansas, Mound Ridge, Kansas, and they go back and forth there. And otherwise, if I don't have his coffee, or the other family I work with is Dos Niños Coffee. They're out of Guatemala. A really nice family that they do similar things there on the farm, and they warehouse in Montgomery, Alabama. So
so a little bit closer.
A little closer.
Yeah.
And if I don't have either of those coffees, well, I'm working on getting more direct trade relationships, or friendships, as I like to say. Because your money goes towards supporting the workers, and they're transparent about who they help, where the money goes, and that sort of thing. Otherwise, there are other coffees that I get from different importers, but the thing about specialty coffee is it's always traceable, if not to the exact farm, then to the co-op that it comes from, where the farmers in the area pitch into that co-op, and then they grade it, select it, and sell it. Yeah, so it's all traceable.
And it has a different flavor profile depending on where it's from, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
And so what would you say is your favorite flavor profile? If you could choose one from a specific area, what would you say?
Oof, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, Central American coffees are great. African coffees, like there's a Burundi right here, a natural process, and a lot of it goes to the process. Like washed coffees versus a natural, they're going to have totally different qualities.
Was a non-washed coffee be more earthy, you could say? Was that the...
It certainly can be.
Okay, because of the dirt and stuff.
Well, and it's going to be washed eventually, but it's really when it's set out to dry on like the patios and stuff, it's dried in the full covering, just like you pick it off of the plant, the tree, and then it's dried, and then it is washed eventually after it's milled. But yeah, a lot of times they'll be earthier. A natural process will be kind of earthy. A wash process is definitely cleaner. Okay. It's cleaner in the cup, but also a natural, what I like about it is they're kind of wild, you know, and like a lot of times they'll have kind of that wild, more fruit forward kind of tang to it.
Which is interesting too. But like I said, I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I appreciate the process. What I don't understand, and if you could explain this to me, in a way. When people say fruity,
Yeah.
when I think of coffee, I think it's bitter and it doesn't taste like sweet. Fruity. What does fruity mean specifically when you say fruity?
A lot of times, the way I equate it is, and it's not always this way, but a lot of times, kind of the more fruit-forward coffees will have a little higher acidity.
Oh, okay.
So it'll present a little more acidic. And then, you know, depending on how good the coffee is, a lot of times it's if when it's really hot, I like to say it tastes like just really hot black water, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
But as the temperature cools, as the coffee itself cools in the cup, different flavors will come through at the different temperature levels. And a lot of times, especially like with an African natural, you may have like a real strong peach flavor come through, or there may be strawberry or blueberry notes that you take a sip and you're like, whoa, that tasted like blueberries, you know.
Now, is that,
so it's more,
how do you get a blueberry flavor in a coffee with it? It's just how they
that's
make it?
just, well, it could be a number of reasons. It's the variety, the bean varietal itself. Could be the climate that it's grown in. It could be the soil, it could be the altitude, all those things combined.
Wow.
The process, you know. So yeah, it's an ever-changing thing, right? Because the qualities are different from year to year. In some same farm, same bean, maybe super blueberry one year, one harvest season, and then the next, it may be a little closer to strawberry or something completely different, you know? So yeah.
And also, what's the difference between dark roast and light roast? Like I said, not a coffee guy.
Yeah.
Dark roast and light roast, dark is a little bit stronger, correct?
Oh, that goes back to the age-old question. What's your strongest coffee?
Okay.
And hopefully it doesn't sound too snarky, you know, when I respond this way, but strength of coffee is like your water to coffee ratio. If you want to make a light roast really strong, use more coffee, less water.
Interesting. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like the strength, like you hear somebody, oh, they made it weak or they made it strong. Well, that's why, because they either didn't use enough grounds or not enough water or vice versa. But really, when people ask what's your strongest coffee, they typically mean what's your darkest roast.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so light roast versus dark roast, a lot of times it's just it's maybe a combination of how fast it's roasted, how hot it's roasted, how long it's roasted. So your light roasts are going to be typically, you know, stopped shorter in duration of roast. You know, it may be 400 to 410 degrees is the bean temperature when you stop roasting, and so that it ends up being light. You could take the same bean and stretch it to 450 degrees, and you're going to end up with a dark roast. So, but certain beans have inherent qualities that that work better as a light or a dark roast, and so as a roaster, I just have to, you know, do profile roasting and sampling and see what profile works best with what bean. So.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, all that little minute details is interesting because, as you, I'm sure, have found out, you can like tweak certain things and make it taste a little bit differently.
Yeah.
That's fascinating about coffee. And I think there's very few other drinks, maybe you could say, that have that level of minute detail. I mean, I'd say probably brewing or creating beer, maybe.
And wine.
Very
similar.
Very similar process. But one has caffeine, one has alcohol, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, another question that I just wanted to ask because I was just curious. So when you're talking with people, how should they start by making their own coffee? Instead of having to go to the store and spending who knows how much, $8 a cup for Starbucks. And they want to get into more of the craft side of it. What would you say to start?
I think kind of the path that I went down when I was just starting, that seems to be a pretty popular starting point. You know, a French press is easy, and all you need is the one vessel, the one press. And then as long as you have a way of heating your water, stovetop, in a pot or a pan, that's how I started, and a grinder. You know, it just takes putting the grinds in, putting that off-boil water in there, letting it sit for 4 minutes, and plunge it down, and it's ready to drink. And the French press has all the oils in it. You know, it's not paper filtered, and so it's always going to be a really rich coffee with those oils in it and stuff. And so I think that's a hook for you know. And then after that, you'll probably find your pantry filled with all kinds of gadgets and stuff like that eventually.
Well, it can really turn into a hobby for some people I've seen, and for you, turn into a business.
Yeah, I mean, you see, you know, people have coffee bars and stuff, and they've got all different things, and yeah, I mean, it's fun, you know, just for the average consumer, it can be, you know, the more than just the wake up, do the daily, you know, and out the door. Well, we do that, but on the weekends, it's more like, all right, let's slow down and do a nice pour over or something like that. But yeah, French press, pour over, Chemex, you know, V60, with an electric kettle and a paper filter. It's really not difficult, and it's not expensive. It doesn't have to be. Yeah. So the paper filter makes for a cleaner cup. If you don't like the grounds in the bottom after French press, then yeah.
When you go to a hotel and you wake up and you have the continental breakfast with all the like powdered eggs and everything like that, and you have to, because, you know, a lot of times we need caffeine. You're on a trip, you're tired, you have to. How does that feel to get like that cup of coffee that is, you know what I'm talking about, like the hotel sort of?
Yeah.
Does that feel disheartening to you, or does that?
You know, it may sound funny, and you may think I have qualms with that, but I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, I'll endure the bad coffee for a couple days. Okay. Or you know, what hotel rooms and even Airbnbs are doing a lot now is they'll just have a Keurig machine sitting out, and they'll have some Keurig cups and stuff that it's still going to be nasty. Don't get me wrong. And that's why.
Oh, we have
our own now.
Yeah.
Which these are great. They're great. So it'd be easy to, you know, to pop a bunch of these, handful or box or two, into the carry-on or check bag and take them with. And so, but as far as if I know people have their own, they actually have like Pelican cases and stuff with, you know, with their own manual gadgets and
interesting to take with them just to make the coffee.
Hand grinder, yeah.
Wow, like on a trip, like interesting. Okay.
I think maybe people that travel for business and stuff are more apt to do that.
Yeah.
I don't need it, you know. It's I don't really care. I'll drink the coffee.
Yeah. But still, I mean, that goes without saying how important coffee is to people. It is a huge industry
for sure.
With a reason, you know, people are really into coffee. And have you ever not drank your coffee? Has there been a moment where, or is it naturally, do you always just gravitate towards this because this is what you make, this is your craft, and I'm not going to necessarily drink anything else?
Yeah. I think yes, that's probably the case. More so because I always have it on hand. Yeah. So, and I do enjoy it, you know, and I think it's kind of like making sure that what I'm drinking tastes good, because I know that others will be drinking it as well. And I want to make sure above and beyond just sampling it, you know, after roasting, I want to actually drink it. But you know, if I travel, I visit other roasters or whatever, I'll buy a bag, you know, and enjoy what other people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like doing that, actually. I'm always looking for roasters to visit anytime we go to a new city or even take a day trip, whatever.
Yeah. And I think that's quite a bit different than buying a cup of Folgers too. Yeah, because you're supporting a person.
Yeah.
And you're not supporting a big corporation.
Right.
I think more and more people are willing to spend, which is not that much more than coffee nowadays, because everything's so expensive with inflation.
Yeah.
You know, you're spending with something and it's made by real people. You can look up the exact people who made it.
Yeah.
There's a real quality to that.
Right. Yeah. It's a community for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and roasters in town here have my full support. You know, I think we're in it together to kind of keep up with the chains that are moving in, you know, especially in this area. Murfreesboro likes its chains.
Yeah.
So that's definitely competition, but you know, there's really no comparison.
Yeah.
In that and what we do and what the other roasters here do. So
what's interesting too of talking with other craftsmen, you know, I got to talk to Darren, who is a blacksmith, was him talking about how the blacksmith community is so supportive. They'll always learn from each other. They'll always share ideas.
Right.
But then there's some industries, like, for example, he mentioned he did taxidermy, and taxidermists are very closed off and very, I'm not.
Very guarded.
Yeah. So
Yeah, interesting.
I wonder what the difference is. Like, I wonder what makes a certain community more so sharing all about the, you know, what we do, how I do it,
Right.
compared to the people who are more closed off.
Yeah.
Is money an aspect in that, I wonder, or what would that be? I'm curious about that.
Yeah. You know, I don't have the answer, but I do know that, you know, I had somebody early on, another roaster, kind of have that same attitude towards wanting to share information and kind of even discuss coffee with me. And I was kind of taken aback a little bit by that, just because, like, I guess I fully expected small business people, even in the same arena, to kind of be supportive of each other. And I had seen that, like, and I use the example for him, I'm like, if you look at the craft breweries, let's say in Nashville, like, there may be one on opposite corners of an intersection, you know, and they're cool with each other, and they have customers, and they share knowledge and how things are going and stuff like that, and they're both thriving, you know. And how many breweries are in Nashville? I mean,
A lot.
a lot in the same area even, and they all do well, you know, and they're part of that community and they support each other and stuff. So I think it benefits everybody. Of course, you could say, well, it's competition, you know, but I think the mentality nowadays is like, hey, if we are going up against these big corporate companies, these businesses,
The overlords,
you know,
yeah,
the weird, you know, the green sea monster lady that's on the sign.
Starbies.
That's char $5, something like that. We have to be in it together.
Interesting.
The little guys, you know.
That makes sense.
So,
and you said something too earlier that made a lot of sense too. That did answer my question, I feel like, and that's when you were talking about Nashville breweries. There's such a need for that. People consume so much of it, just like coffee, that there's no point in being competitive,
Right.
Because there's a piece of the pie for everybody.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if, talking about taxidermy, if it's much more of a niche thing, I wonder if it has to do relating to the market. You know, the market of people looking to get their deer mounted is so much less than a person wanting a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Well, it could very well be. And, you know, not a shot, but all the people moving in from California, I'm guessing, probably drink more coffee than they do hunt.
Yes, yes. That's a good point. Yeah, I can imagine.
So the population influx to the area lends itself better to having, more coffee venues, more outlets for coffee than taxidermy. I mean,
True.
I appreciate my taxidermy brothers, but that could very well be the case.
Yeah. And switching gears to talk about something. You talk about growth. You're talking about the area of Murfreesboro, which we're in right now, growing.
Yeah.
The Nashville area growing. Where do you see Sanders Brothers Coffee growing? Do you see it? I know you obviously operate in this really cool roasting barn, but you were talking about earlier, before we started filming, you were talking about expanding this building. Is that something that you see in the future coming up, like soon?
It's very possible that that we're going to need more space than this. And while I love my roasting space that I have now, it will need to get bigger. I'm going to have to do something else because it's, with growth comes a need for more space. And so adding on, pushing out this little building is definitely an option.
And also, I wanted to ask too, do you see yourself ever starting like you're talking about like an actual coffee shop? It's like the face and sort of the, you come and you actually get a Sanders Brothers coffee made for you.
I love the thought of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say, no, I don't ever see that. At this point in time, it's not feasible just because, well, for one, the overhead and the time, money, the expense to have a shop, the lease. Lord willing, maybe someday we'd be big enough to have I would love to have a place in an ideal spot on a corner somewhere and have traffic and be able to provide that for people. But for now, it's, being mobile is probably the better option, being able to take it to places and that's a thing now, with food trucks and events and all that. I mean, that's becoming the way to go, and I think it is largely because a lease is a business killer.
That's a good point.
And I'm just thinking how many times I've heard, you hear of somebody say, you know what, in retirement, it's my dream or it's my wife's dream to have a coffee shop. And it is very idealistic, and they may even go for it, have a space and invest in it. But then that lease is a killer. And if you're tied into that and, you're, what they say, you're married to your restaurant or to your shop.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's definitely something to consider. But right now, we're not quite there.
That's smart though, because like you're talking about being mobile, and I can imagine, like I was talking about earlier, that's more personable, I feel like too, because you're talking directly to the operator of the business oftentimes. Right. And so you have that personal relationship where they can ask you questions about how you got started or, what you have planned or whatever. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah. And that you may ask about it, but that kind of leads into the farmer's market. Yeah. Because that is exactly the reason that the farmer's market is great.
Here in Murfreesboro, the farmer's market.
The Saturday market on the square is the one we're part of, and this will be our 8th year.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun, and we've seen Murfreesboro grow simply through the market. But it is that personal interaction like that we get, and we're able to interact with the community and meet different people and see friends, make new friends. And I've kind of, it's interesting. I take the farm. I was thinking about this just recently. That is a mission field for us as a family, the farmers market, because nowhere else can you interact with that number of people, customers, vendors. Saturday mornings, when I'm on my way to the market in my truck by myself, like 6 o'clock in the morning, that's my prayer a lot of times, is that God, you will put people before me that need you and who need an ear to listen. And that is what I pray. It's not that I'm to speak, and I will do that if prompted, but I just want to be that ear to listen to people, because there are a lot of people that just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so that's definitely a part of it. It's a mission field that I feel very strongly about.
I think that's a great point too. You're partnering with Legacy Farms Coffee. Mm-hmm. It's all with a purpose. It's all with a purpose to serve.
Yeah.
Whether it's to serve somebody with a good cup of coffee or to tell them about your personal faith.
Yeah.
How much of a motivator is that when you're talking with people? Because you were talking about how you want it to be your mission field. Mm-hmm. Is that sort of a battery in your back too in a lot of ways?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's, for an example, we just went and watched the first 2 episodes of The Chosen season 5 in the theater last night.
Yeah.
We're blessed with tickets. We know somebody that works for The Chosen, and so they, in fact, my wife's, she has a leather purse that made it in the show.
Oh, really?
In
okay,
one of
so
the
actual
episodes.
purse made
yeah,
it.
her purse
Wow.
made it.
Yeah. That's pretty
Celebrity purse. But anyway, yeah, you know, and just how it highlights Jesus and his interaction with people and with his disciples and stuff. And he's the ultimate example of feeling for people and having compassion on people, and so with his example, that's kind of how I see at the market, like not being judgmental, because you see all different kinds of people at the farmers market, right? But just knowing that they are people who are made in God's image, you know, and they are worthy of respect, and like I said, there are people that just, you can tell when they come up, they approach the coffee trailer and start talking. It's like, you can tell they need somebody to talk to. And they may not have that in their life, right? So yeah, to be there for that alone is important.
It's very honorable of you to be willing to do that. I think
I'm not great at it. Oh. I can tell you that.
I'm sure. Like, I'm sure you are.
A lot of times I don't quite. There's some awkward silence a lot of times, you know, but because I'm kind of half introvert, half I like being with people, but I don't at the same time. Yeah. So it's not easy, but that's why I'm thankful I have my wife, because she's Miss Bubbly, you know, more outgoing, interacting with people. Yeah. So.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And I think about it all the time of how grateful I am to be in a country where we can talk about our faith, of Absolutely. All kinds of faith. Yeah. And, you know, I'm personally a Christian too, but to be able to have a conversation about one of the reasons why you even do all this is important. And I think you miss that a lot in more traditional media. I think they try to scrub that away, regardless of religion or faith. I think they try to scrub certain aspects away, one, because they think it might offend people.
That's right.
Yep. And more importantly, it's also like a time crunch. Like I said earlier, you know, you have to do 20, 30 minutes of a show. You don't get to learn about the whole person.
Yeah, you have constraints.
I think that's beautiful. I think we get to admire the capability of God's creation through creativeness. I think I've talked with all types of people already, and I'm so blessed to be able to do this and have this medium, because I want to be able to normally.
Yeah.
It's the best thing that I think has came out of our internet forum, if you could say, is the ability to share people's stories naturally and authentically, and not through a weird sort of hierarchy. You have to get here in order to even talk about this on certain things.
Yes.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
Well, and what you're doing is providing the platform for people to share that. So Convos with Aaron, I mean, gives them that space, that open space to be able to share and using your gifting and as a creator, and so that's awesome. Yeah,
I appreciate that. It's also something too where I would love to be able to build this as somewhere to have such a great platform to highlight creatives. Our mission is to celebrate and learn from creatives each episode, and that's our goal. And then also, I'd say to build a platform that constantly gains people who are interested in creatives themselves. To have a really good community. My big vision sort of thing for all this is I want to be able to have a network of people that I can call on for anything. If I have something that they would benefit from, like for example, I connected Darren with a photographer recently, and I want to be that too. Like I want a personal connection to be made through me, and then possibly through other people. And then furthermore, I would love to have some kind of gathering too, where all of the guests come and you can do like they have Sandra Brothers coffees, like little your food truck, and then I could have like knives that you could sell, and then there's also like just all these different vendors and people sell art and everything. Yeah.
The Convos creator.
The Convos creator. That's right.
Convos creator market.
Yeah.
Or event,
whatever. I don't care what it's called.
As soon as you said you'd love to have all of your guests together, I thought, I know of a coffee guy that can provide for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Ding, the light went off.
Yeah. I think everybody I talk to has some sort of service to provide the world. I think our third guest, David Holt, he's a high school broadcasting teacher. He provides knowledge to the kids who may not even be necessarily interested in school at all, and he gives them that passion. He continues to encourage that passion. I think that's so important for creatives to do.
Yeah.
So talking about that kind of stuff, do you have any ideas of someone to bring on and join your team eventually? Is that something you would love to like kind of bring on personally?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to have to.
Yep.
Naturally, with growth comes that need. And there have been several people that I know of that friends that have high school kids. Daughter in particular comes to mind, where she was super excited about working the trailer for the farmers market. Like really, really wanted to do that. And I had her work a couple weeks, and she was great, and was like, anytime you need help, let me know, because I'd love to do this. And so I think it does. I think I'm in a position right now, especially to have someone, and someone of that age loves the whole coffee shop experience. They love that. You know, you see baristas a lot of times at a local coffee shop, and they're like high school or college age kids, and so for them to be able to experience that and work and feel good about the work that they've done is important, and hopefully will happen.
Yeah.
Be able to have that.
I always encourage younger people too, and I'm younger too, so I'm saying this to myself.
That's right, you are.
To create whatever, just even if it's not something you want to do as your job. You have to find a hobby in life. If you have time, I get it. College is crazy. You have to have time to make something.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the world, and I'm sure you can absolutely attest to this. There's nothing in the world like feeling something you've created, and it's a whole thing. I mean, it's a bag of coffee with a logo, and you roasted it. You made sure it fits. Everything is perfect. How does that feeling feel to have something? Or at least maybe I'll ask, how was the first bag of actual coffee that you sold or gave to somebody?
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Amazing. I mean, I've loved the kind of the artistic side of every aspect of it, really. Roasting, designing labels and stuff like that, because I do love that part of it too, which is a creative part that an outlet that I can have. But yeah, just the knowing that you created that you produced something, being able to make it your own. Something that I've tried to do with my own kids is I'll have them, well, in the past, I've let them roast on just a little sample roaster, and let them guide them through the whole process, and then pack it in one of our bags, and have them write their name on it and say, it's my roast.
Yeah.
And like starting, you know, my youngest he'll be 12, but he did it this last year and was like, this is my roast.
That's crazy.
And was super excited about it, you know? And so I do it all the time, but I still have that excitement.
Yeah. Well, Cary, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me and
Absolutely.
being willing to just talk about your process and talk about
Certainly.
the things that you've learned along the way. And I'm excited to follow your journey.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, once again, thank you for joining us on another episode of Convos with Aaron. We'd love for you to subscribe. So you can subscribe. That way you can get constant updates about when we post, which is Monday. So every Monday you'll be able to watch a brand new video. We love to have you like the video and share it too. That's something that I would really appreciate, because then that leads us to more and more people who would possibly benefit from learning all these little tidbits that I'm learning about throughout each episode. So if you have a guest or you want to be a guest, you can contact us. So you can contact us at convoswithaaron@gmail.com. And we'd love to have you on. We can have a little bit of dialogue, and I'll come to you. Always come to the guests. And yeah, so see you later. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Sweet.